there's heat exhaustion, and then there's heat stroke, which I understand is a lot more serious.
Yeah, so heat exhaustion, you're sweating, you're getting a bit faint, whereas the heat stroke is an emergency. That's people who are possibly losing consciousness. They might even stop sweating.
I don't know about you, but the last few weeks have felt relentless. By the time I get to work, I'm already on my second shower of the day. Exhausted, I'm not sleeping, my brain is foggy, and after work I don't have the energy to do any of the activities that I usually enjoy, like dancing, cycling, running. I kind of just want a nap instead. So this has got me thinking, what is extreme heat doing to me and to my body? And it's not just me, of course. This has been happening to more people around the world. And in Europe, in the heat waves that we've been having recently, there have actually been hundreds of people who've died because of the temperatures. So at what point does "it's really hot" become a medical problem? I'm Hannah. This is What in the World from the BBC World Service. And today we're going to find out what extreme heat does to our bodies and our health. I'm speaking to just the person who can hopefully answer some of my questions about this. We've got Michelle Roberts, who's the BBC's health editor, and you're also a doctor. So maybe you can help us understand, what does this kind of heat do to us?
So your body wants to stay at a nice temperature, which inside you is about 37 degrees, and it does its best to keep that kind of sweet spot. But when it's hot outside, obviously the body has to work harder to try and stay cooler. It wants to stay at that nice level, and it does certain things. So in yourself, if you go outside and you're really, really baking in it, you start to sweat. That's one of the main ways. So we've all experienced it, but that's cooling off. So if you licked the back of your hand and then blow on the back of it, you'll feel that it feels a bit cooler.
Yeah.
And that's what sweating is doing. It's letting all of that water sort of evaporate, that sweat that's full of a bit of salt as well, evaporate into the air, and that cools you down. Your blood also starts to move towards the surface of the skin.
Is that why I go really red?
Yeah. So beetroot looking, that's the thing.
That's the look I've been rocking.
Yeah. And it sort of, it just, all your blood vessels dilate a bit, and they try and get all that blood to the surface area, which is really helpful, but it can make you feel a bit faint.
Yeah.
So these are some of the things that start to happen. You'll notice that you feel a bit more sort of exhausted, a bit out of breath possibly, your heart's going a bit harder, and you're just feeling ultra sweaty.
Yeah.
And that's all of those mechanisms that are trying to keep you cool.
I've noticed it two ways. Firstly, when I'm trying to exercise, I love exercising. I've not been able to do it, and that affects everything about me. But are my organs working differently? Are they trying to pump harder? Like, what's going on physically when I'm trying to exercise and it's just like 35 degrees?
Yeah, so it's mainly what doctors would call cardiovascular system. It's mainly your heart and your blood vessels that are working harder, as for the reason we've just spoken about. They're trying to help you cool down. So with exercise, it's really important to take a step back. I mean, even if you feel, well, just for a bit, if the temperature's really high, even if you're very fit, you're used to doing lots of things. If you're in an air-conditioned gym, that's a bit different. But if you're out and about, just really take things slower.
There are these different health conditions that I've been reading about. There's heat exhaustion, and then there's heat stroke, which I understand is a lot more serious, although people don't always understand the difference between the two, myself included.
Yeah, so heat exhaustion, you would sort of recognise in yourself, you'd start to feel pretty rough. You're sweating, you're getting a bit faint, you're feeling really quite unwell with the heat, whereas the heat stroke is an emergency. That's when you really, really do need help. That's people who are possibly losing consciousness. They might be vomiting. They might even stop sweating. Their body is sort of not coping anymore, really not coping. So somebody who's got a bit of heat exhaustion can usually, if they find a bit of shade, have a bit of water, some damp cloths and just try and relax a bit, that can be okay. But if you've got proper heat stroke, that's when you need help.
Hospital. Yeah. What do they do? How do they help you?
It might be that you need a bit of oxygen. It'll depend case by case, but don't delay. Go and seek help.
And the heat, everyone feels it, but people who have underlying health conditions, young people, elderly people, feel things a little bit differently. And we have asked some of our listeners and our viewers what they've been feeling in this heat. And watching some of your video messages really made me see how differently the heat affects us. So we're going to play some of them now.
Hi, I'm Sakshi Bhatt. I'm 24 years old and currently I live in Delhi. This is the hottest summer that I have personally seen. Every time I step out, I feel constant nausea, headaches, I feel really dehydrated, and when I come back, I end up feeling even more exhausted and tired. And especially as a woman, I think it's even more difficult, especially if you're on your periods. It becomes really worse. The cramps become very unbearable due to the heat, and the menstrual hygiene products, for example, if you're wearing a pad, they stick to your body even more, and the whole thing becomes more difficult to deal with. And I think as a young person, we used to listen news about, oh, global warming is happening, heat waves are coming. But now I think it is a time when it doesn't seem like a distant future, but it feels like a hard-hitting reality to all of us. And I feel really unprepared how to deal with it, because it will not just have health impact. For example, let's say I'm falling sick because of heat, or I don't want to step out to work because of heat. I cannot tell my boss that, and if I don't go to work, it will end up in leading to a lot of employment related opportunities loss. And it's not just a health related issues, because for example, to bear with this unbearable heat, all of us have air conditioners, but now the air conditioners that you installed last year, they are not working, so you need to install new ACs, which is not possible for a young person's salary in India, because an air conditioner costs you around 40,000 rupees, which is a very big expense considering this economy that we are living in. So I think I feel very underprepared that how as a country we will deal with it, infrastructure wise, policy wise, health wise, financial wise. It's going to be a really difficult situation, I feel.
Hi, I'm Shreya. I've been living in Delhi for the past few years. I often say that summer used to be my favorite season, but my perception changed when I came across the phenomena of heat. And as I began witnessing the growing intensity of heat waves, over the last decade I've observed temperatures rising year after year. And these changes are clearly affecting both the environment and people's daily lives. Personally, I suffer from chronic back pain from past 4 years, which tends to worsen during the heat waves. And this is not just the pain I hold, it is accompanied by headache, nausea, and extreme fatigue. But what concerns me the most is that the heat waves are becoming severe and common, and these heat waves are not constrained to any one region, but these are affecting the environment and overall health of people around the globe.
Thank you so much for sending those in. And of course, we've been complaining here in Europe where it's 30, 35, 38 degrees. A lot of you are dealing with temperatures that are way into their 40s. And as we've been hearing, the heat can be really deadly, can't it, Michelle?
So I think there are particular groups that need to be a little bit more careful. So people with pre-existing health conditions, the very, very young, very young babies can get hot quite quickly, and also elderly people. So if you've got relatives, you've got neighbours that you think might just benefit from, even if you can say, I'll go to the shops for you and pick you up a few things so you don't have to go outside today, it's really, really hot. There are simple things that people can do that can really help.
One thing that I've noticed in this recent heatwave that we've had is how humid it's been. It's been like a really sticky heat, and that has made it feel, for me, it's felt like a lot hotter than anything I've ever known. And I, have grown up and lived here in London my whole life. What are the differences when it comes to your body between dry heat and that kind of wet, humid heat?
Yeah, weather and climate experts that I spoke to last week were talking about humidity, and it's something that maybe we don't pay that much attention to. But, they were saying it will feel very tropical here, the sort of wet heat, if you like. And the reason why that really can clobber you is because you can't cool down as well. Because if there's lots of moisture in the air already, then when you're sweating, it's harder for that sweat to go into the air and evaporate and cool you off.
I also read that some medications can affect the way that your body reacts to heat and the sun, and that affects us as well.
Yeah, you're right. So it's important to look at what you're already on. So, for example, some people on certain acne medications might need to be a bit more careful. Their skin can react quickly to the sun. Likewise with contraceptives, certain contraceptive pills, you can see things. The other obvious thing is alcohol. I mean, obviously, if you're out in the sun and you're thirsty, you drink water, but if you're having beers, just limit the number you're having because that's going to dehydrate you. It's not going to help you.
Yeah, I'm usually a real sun seeker. I think it's one of my guilty pleasures is sunbathing, and I know it's not good for us. I haven't been able to at all with these levels of heat. But when we've got more heat, often, we've got more sunshine, we've also got higher UV levels, and we've got to think about that as well as how to keep our bodies cool. We've also got to think about how to protect ourselves on the outside.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, the main things are sunscreen, covering up, a big floppy hat. Think about your eyes as well, good quality sunglasses. I'm not talking expensive, but ones that have the right UV protection.
And that little mark, is it like a CE or something on the inside?
And sometimes there's star ratings and things like that, or percentages of how much UV cover. But it's not just about the colour of the lens. A dark lens doesn't just cut it. It's having that filter in there.
Yeah. I've been reading so many different tips. Some of them are quite funny, like put your socks in the freezer before bed.
Did you do it?
I didn't, but I did take an ice pack to bed with me. Normally in the winter I'll have a hot water bottle. I had like an ice pack and I just move it around my body.
I saw that on Instagram.
Yeah.
I saw somebody putting a hot water bottle in the freezer.
Yeah, exactly. Not a bad one. What would your top tips be for how people can try and protect themselves, avoid, heat stroke and all of these emergency things that heat does to our body? Water.
Listen to your body.
Yeah.
Water. Drink, lots of sips. I know sometimes you've got this massive bottle and you think, how am I going to get through all of that? But keep sipping water.
And I think one for me from this conversation is maybe don't try and exercise as much.
Yeah, definitely.
As hard as that sounds.
Skip a few sessions. You can play catch up.
All right. Michelle, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Well, that's it from us today. But before I go, I want to bring in some of the comments that you have been leaving us on our YouTube episode on PMDD, which stands for premenstrual dysphoric disorder. It's a mental health disorder that some women have, and it's to do with their cycle. Gabe said that it took her years to get a diagnosis, but since she learned about PMDD, she says, I have a life again. And she says that we need to talk about this and educate others. So I'm really glad that you were able to get that diagnosis and that it helped so much. It is always good to hear from you guys. Please keep those comments coming. But for now, I'm Hannah. This is What's in the World from the BBC World Service. We'll see you next time.